Welcome, mystic seekers, to Mystic Manor, where history meets mystery. Werewolves, creatures of the night, cursed by the moon to transform into beasts of unrelenting fury. From ancient myths to modern cinema, these shape-shifting monsters have been a topic of discussion for centuries. But what most people don't know is that the legend of the werewolf goes beyond mere fantasy. It intertwines with a dark history marked by fear, superstition, and real-life tragedy. The line between reality and myth was thin, and once it was crossed, there was no turning back. This is the true story of the chilling account of the werewolf witch trials, where myth and reality collide, and the shadows of history reveal a dark legacy that continues to haunt us today. To fully grasp the terror and fear that overcame communities during these trials, we need to first explore the origins of the werewolf myth and why it became so deeply rooted in fear. The word werewolf derives from the Old English word werewolf, with were meaning man and wolf meaning wolf, literally translating to man-wolf. Variations of this term appear in other languages too, like loup-garou in French from the Latin lupus, meaning wolf, and garou from the Germanic root for man-wolf and werewolf in German. In folklore, werewolves are often depicted as individuals cursed with the ability to shapeshift into wolves or wolf-like creatures, typically during a full moon. This transformation is not merely a physical change. Lycanthropy refers to the condition of transforming into a wolf or wolf-like creature, but it can also encompass transformations into other animal forms. Individuals suffering from lycanthropy believed they could transform into wolves or animals and exhibit wolf-like behaviors. Many cultures have their own variations of the werewolf myth. According to legend, in ancient Greece, King Lycaon was a king of Arcadia who tested the omniscience of Zeus by serving him a meal made from human flesh, specifically the flesh of Lycaon's own son. Angered by this act of hubris, Zeus transformed Lycaon into a wolf, condemning him for his actions. This transformation is often cited as a foundational myth for the concept of lycanthropy. In Norse mythology, we find berserkers, warriors who donned animal skins, believed to gain the spirit and strength of wolves in battle. While not full werewolves, their savage reputation cemented the link between man and beast. The berserkers, and Ulf Hethnar, were warriors believed to enter a trance-like state during combat, which allowed them to fight with unmatched fury and strength. This type of shape-shifting or possession by animal spirits is likely tied to later European beliefs in werewolves. In a time when superstition and religion shaped society, the fear of the supernatural ran deep. Witch hunts were spreading across Europe like wildfire, but the fear wasn't confined to witches alone. Werewolves, men accused of making pacts with the devil and transforming into beasts, became the target of terrifying accusations and brutal trials. Much like witches, werewolves were seen as agents of chaos, harbingers of destruction and death. In small rural communities where wolves roamed the forests and livestock often disappeared mysteriously, it wasn't hard to see how fear would take hold. Villagers believed the devil was at work, turning men into wolves who could tear through the countryside under the cover of darkness. Werewolves and witches were often linked during the hysteria of the witch hunts. In some cases, those accused of witchcraft were also believed to have the ability to shapeshift into wolves. Both were considered agents of the devil, and the idea of witches and werewolves in their midst terrified the public. Werewolf trials often paralleled witch hunts. In fact, many believed that witches were able to transform into wolves themselves, or controlled werewolves as their familiars. But this fear was not only rooted in tales passed down through generations. The church's influence fueled the hysteria. Clergy taught that men who consorted with the devil could shapeshift into wolves using dark magic to wreak havoc. As the fear of werewolves spread, so did the trials. Similar to the witch hunts of the era, accusations were often based on little more than superstition and paranoia. A neighbor's livestock would die mysteriously, a child would go missing, or someone would claim to have seen a wolf prowling in the night. Accusations followed swiftly, and trials began. Once accused, these so-called werewolves faced brutal trials. Pain and suffering was commonplace, used to extract confessions. Many of the accused, men, women, and even children, were forced to admit to acts they had never committed. Common during these trials, the methods were horrific. Stretching racks, iron pincers, and burning were used to force the accused to admit to making a pact with the devil. Under such unbearable pain, people would say anything to make it stop. In these confessions, it was common to hear stories of a magical belt, ointment, or curse that supposedly allowed these individuals to transform into wolves. In the late 1580s, Peter Stump, a wealthy farmer in a rural community, became the center of one of history's most infamous werewolf trials. Stump was a widower with 2 children, a daughter named Beale, also known as Sybil, who was over 15, and a son whose age remains unknown. The year 1589 marked the beginning of Stump's tale. After being subjected to the rack, he confessed to practicing black magic since the age of 12. In a chilling account, he claimed that the devil had bestowed upon him a magical belt that allowed him to transform into a fearsome creature, a greedy, devouring wolf. Stump revealed that removing the belt would revert him to his human form. However, after his capture, when questioned about the whereabouts of the girdle, he insisted that he had left it in a certain valley. The local magistrate ordered a search for the belt, but it was never found, raising questions about the validity of his claims. Under the threat of harsh punishment, Stump made shocking confessions, claiming he had consumed 2 women who were with child and 14 children. Among those victims was his own son. In a chilling twist, he allegedly took his son into the woods, transformed into a wolf, and devoured him. On October 31st, 1589, Peter Stump faced one of the most gruesome endings in history. He was subjected to a wheel, where his skin was torn in multiple places using red-hot pincers. After that, his arms and legs were broken with the blunt side of an axe head, and his body was burned on a pyre. Tragically, his daughter Beale and his mistress Catherine had already suffered their own fates. They were burned alongside him. As a grim warning to others, local authorities put up a pole featuring the wheel and a figure of a wolf, with Stump's head displayed at the very top. Peter Stump's case was not unique. Across France, Switzerland, and Germany, countless others were accused of being werewolves. In some cases, entire towns were terrified that wolves were walking among them, hiding in plain sight as their neighbors. While many of these confessions seem outlandish now, stories of belts, salves, or potions that allowed humans to transform, at the time, they were taken as absolute proof of guilt. These individuals were not merely seen as murderers. They were viewed as inhuman, something far worse, a threat to both the body and soul. Centuries later, scientists would look back on these cases and attempt to explain them. One explanation was a condition known as clinical lycanthropy, a rare psychiatric disorder in which a person believes they can transform into an animal. While rare, this disorder could offer some explanation for the confessions of those who truly believed they had become wolves. In the late 16th century, one of the most infamous cases of werewolf hysteria emerged from the town of Dole in the Franche-Comté region of France. Gilles Garnier, a reclusive hermit, had recently married and moved his wife to an isolated home outside the town. struggling to provide for his new family, led to tension between them. During this time, several children began to go missing or were found dead, prompting local authorities to issue an edict encouraging the apprehension and execution of the werewolf believed to be responsible. One evening, a group of workers traveling from a nearby town stumbled upon what they thought was a wolf, but soon recognized it as Gilles Garnier with the body of a child. This shocking discovery led to his arrest. In 1573, during his trial, Gilles Garnier recounted a desperate night when he was hunting in the forest for food to provide for his wife. While searching, he claimed that a specter appeared to him. This apparition presented him with an ointment. Garnier asserted that after applying the ointment, he could take on the form of a wolf, which he used for hunting. However, he also confessed to committing horrific acts. While in this transformed state, he was ultimately convicted and executed, marking one of the darker chapters in the history of werewolf lore and the witch hunts of the time. In medieval Europe, beliefs about werewolves and lycanthropy led to various attempts at curing individuals who were thought to be afflicted. Remedies included herbal treatments, rituals, and sometimes extreme measures like surgeries. Wolfsbane, also known as aconite, was used due to its association with werewolves, as it was believed to repel them. While these treatments were intended to help, the toxicity of wolfsbane and similar plants could lead to severe poisoning. In many cases, the very treatments meant to cure individuals resulted in unintended consequences, often causing more harm than good. Tragically, some patients not only found no respite from their symptoms, but also faced severe health crises, contributing to their eventual deaths. Imagine a tale so horrifying that it grips an entire community with fear. Nicolas Dameau, a seemingly ordinary tailor with his own workshop. Dameau was accused of luring children into his tailor shop, where he committed unspeakable acts. To add an extra layer of terror, he was said to have hunted for these innocent victims in nearby forests, allegedly transforming into a wolf. When authorities investigated his workshop, they made a gruesome discovery. Human bones were reportedly found in the basement. This shocking evidence sent shockwaves through the community and intensified the hunt for justice. During the trial, Dameau reportedly confessed to his crimes. However, the details were so disturbing that the court decided to destroy the records to protect the public from the grisly specifics. In the end, he was found guilty of his horrific crimes, as well as the title of werewolf. Accounts say that as he faced his fate, he called out curses and invoked the devil, an eerie conclusion to a terrifying chapter in history. Werewolf trials reached Livonia in the 17th century and would become the most common form of witch trial in that country. Between the years 1527 and 1725, there were at least 18 trials during which 18 women and 13 men were accused of causing harm while taking the form of werewolves. Many of those accused confessed to having received their wolf skins from another individual, often claiming they had eaten something specific beforehand. They would hide these skins, typically under a rock, when not in use. None of the accused willingly confessed to any connection with Satan. Through coercive interrogation methods and leading questions, authorities manipulated their statements about werewolves into admissions of witchcraft. This led to the conviction and execution of those accused of being werewolves as witches. In the Netherlands, the accusation of being a werewolf is described as principally synonymous with an accusation of being a witch, and there are at least 2 known cases of a combined werewolf and witch trial in the Netherlands. Historians estimate that hundreds of people accused of being werewolves were executed during the 15th to 18th centuries. The exact number of those who perished is difficult to pinpoint, as many records were lost or destroyed. However, it's clear that fear, superstition, and the desire to control communities fueled the accusations, leaving us with a dark chapter in history. By the 18th century, the intensity of these trials began to wane as Enlightenment ideas encouraged a more logical view of the supernatural. Despite the end of the werewolf trials, the myth of the werewolf survived and thrived. From classic horror films to modern blockbusters, the image of the werewolf, half man, half beast, endures. Werewolves represent more than just beasts. They embody the darker side of human nature, the wild instincts lurking just beneath the surface, reminding us of the delicate line between humanity and the beast within. Thank you for joining me for this story. Until next time, stay mystical. If you made it this far and liked the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Mystic Seekers. I'm curious to know what you think about these trials, so comment your thoughts below. Thanks for watching.